Introduction. Alyiaha Lashaw. Frierson was born on August 10, 1995, to the union of her mother, Bonnie Washington, and her father, Arthur Frierson, who preceded her in death. She grew up on the near south side of Chicago, where she built strong roots in her community and among her family and friends. Alyiaha graduated from Manly High School, showcasing her dedication and determination early on. After high school, Alyiaha moved to Iowa to live with her sister, seeking new opportunities and experiences. She was passionate about working hard at any job she took on, always striving to do her best. But Alyiaha wasn't just about work. She was full of life and energy. Known as the turn-up queen at any event she attended, she loved to party and brought joy and excitement wherever she went. While in Iowa, Alyiaha reconnected with Melvin Trimble, 37, of the 1600 block of St. Louis Avenue in Chicago. She had known him from her time in Chicago, and their connection quickly grew into a romantic relationship. Alyiaha fell deeply in love with Melvin, investing her heart and soul into the relationship, sometimes loving him more than she loved herself. Alyiaha was searching for unconditional fatherly love in her relationship with Melvin, not realizing that the fatherly love she longed for was already present in her stepfather. Not knowing her fatherly love was with me, I would have died, killed, or gone to jail for her to be here, he reflected. I loved you, we loved you, and we all miss your smiling face, your funny laugh, and your honesty about others. Your sense of humor was unlike anyone else's. It was special. Instead of finding the love she deserved, Melvin became increasingly controlling and abusive toward her, a reality she kept hidden from her family. Despite her efforts to mask the truth, her family sensed that something was wrong and tried to encourage her to leave him. However, his control over her was overwhelming, and nothing family or friends said could convince her to walk away. If anything, she distanced herself further from those who cared about her. Deep down, Alyiaha knew something was wrong with Melvin, but she believed she could help him get the support he needed. Unfortunately, Melvin did not want help. He was content with who he was. He had the mindset of a pimp, a man who thrived on having power and control over women's minds. Alyiaha began going to the gun range and eventually obtained her concealed carry license. Her family believed she was arming herself for protection against Melvin, but to their shock, she gave the gun to him for his protection. On March 5, 2023, Melvin used that very gun to take Alyiaha's life, fatally shooting her and ending the life of someone who had so much more to give. This introduction sets the stage for understanding the vibrant life Alyiaha lived, the love she gave, and the tragic circumstances that followed.
This is the guy who shot my stepdaughter and killed her. Talking about a happy child that was looking just into her life and looking for someone to love her. This was her. And he took her.
Charges have now been filed after a woman was found shot to death in a suburban motel over the weekend. 37-year-old Melvin Trimble faces first-degree murder charges. 27-year-old Alyiaha Frierson was found inside a room at the Motel 6 in Glenview early Sunday morning. Police say she'd been shot in the head.
She wasn't shot in the head. She was grazed in the head, but she was shot in the heart.
Officers initially took Trimble into custody at the motel and filed charges against him early this morning. He is due in bond court later today.
Let's talk about it. I'm showing this video to say this. Women, girls, ladies, whatever you want to call yourself. Do you really know the person you're with? Do you really know who you're marrying, who you're dating, who you're conversating with? See, men's are just like women's, catfishing. And catfishing is only a person letting you know what they want you to know, but they keep the real truth of themselves to themselves. And let me say this. When you're dating somebody, you're not just allowing this person to hurt you. You're allowing this person to hurt a whole community because people out there love you and care about you. So open your eyes and see, listen and hear, and understand this. If a man raises his hand to strike you for the first time, it's time to get away. Because you ain't gave him the green light to come down with that hand. And it ain't going to get better. It's going to get worse until the day comes when this happens.
My baby. Oh, wow. I just can't believe it.
This is a deeply disturbing story about Tarika Jones, a 26-year-old mother of two whose life ended tragically after she paid a $20,000 bail for her husband.
Less than a week before Kevin Reynolds murdered the mother of his child, Tarika Jones, and her sister, Jaleesa Harris, he was bailed out of jail by Jones herself.
She did pay to have him removed from jail.
Sadly, and it's hard to hear, is the victim in this case wanted to bring her boyfriend home, and 6 days later, that man took her life as well as the life of her sister. It's all happening in this third-floor apartment here. People in this neighborhood still saddened, upset by what happened. Others saying it didn't need to happen.
What makes this story even more unsettling is that Tarika's 22-year-old stepsister, Jaleesa Walls Harris, was also found dead under the kitchen table in the same house. Initially, her husband Kevin Reynolds had been arrested and held in jail without bond due to the severity of the crimes he had committed. Despite pressure on the judge to set a $5,000 bond, he ultimately decided on a $20,000 bond, which was paid, leading to Kevin's release. To understand the people involved in this shocking story, let me provide their backgrounds, which lead us to this tragic incident. Tarika Lene Jones was born on May 21, 1989 in Prince George's County, Maryland, a place considered less safe compared to many other cities in the state. Her mother is Twanda Jones Reed, and her father, Terry Lee Walls, has passed away. Before his death, he created a clear path for Tarika's dreams. She loved the idea of working in education management. Therefore, she studied hard and graduated from Huntingtown High School in 2007. She then proceeded to Fortis College in Hyattsville, Maryland, to become a dental assistant. However, her aspiration for a better future wasn't just about her own dreams. There was a larger motivation behind everything she did. As you may recall, Tarika's dad and mom were her biggest inspirations, so she vowed to be a hero for her own children someday.
Let me say this here, women, you got to understand. When you're living your good life, living a dream, the devil always tries to interrupt that. He will send you the handsomest dude, or for men, he will send them the prettiest girl, just to come and take away the joy that our Heavenly Father's blessing us with. So we got to understand the difference. When you see your life going right and on the right path, and someone comes in, if you accept them in, and you notice they're trying to take control of what you got, it's time to cut them loose, and cut them loose fast and get away from them.
Like many others, she searched for love, but finding the right partner was not easy. Although one might think her education and career as a dental assistant would help her find a good husband, that wasn't the case for Tarika. Her early relationships resulted in 2 beautiful daughters, but they did not provide the support she needed. Later, she fell in love again with a man whom she believed would change her life forever. Desperate for love and stability, Tarika met Kevin Therese Reynolds from District Heights, Maryland. Things seemed perfect at first. She introduced him to her family, and over time, her friends also got to know Kevin as the man of the house.
See, I want to go back to the word, desperate for love. A woman, women's, let love come to you. Don't be desperate, because when you're desperate, you're out there trying to grab anything that feels like love and that looks like love. And men can cover that up and give you exactly what they need until they get inside the house. And just like they were saying, he became the man of the house. And it probably was her house.
However, during this time, Tarika became pregnant with Kevin's child, who would become the youngest at the time of the tragic events. Despite her hopes, this relationship would not bring the happiness she longed for, as challenges and struggles continued to arise within the family. But how did Kevin get arrested for the judge to reveal all his hidden crimes? It all began with a seemingly small incident that escalated quickly. Kevin's behavior turned destructive. The couple frequently engaged in arguments that sometimes drew the attention of neighbors, who typically preferred to avoid getting involved in personal matters. While these disputes continued for some time, one particularly harmful aspect of these conflicts was hard to ignore. In February, Kevin was dropping off their daughter when a fierce argument erupted. It's important to note that Kevin and Tarika had a daughter, and they had an established arrangement wherein Kevin would pick her up and drop her off on specific days. However, this time was notably different, as their daughter witnessed a side of her father that she likely never knew existed. Meanwhile, the tension grew, leading to a situation that could change their family forever. At 6 p.m., Kevin pulled up as usual, parking his car so that Tarika could collect their daughter from the front seat. Right at that moment, Tarika did not realize that Kevin harbored different intentions. Tension was building, and things were about to take an unexpected turn that neither of them expected. While she attempted to lift her child, Kevin, who was plotting his next move, lunged at her, seized her, and slammed her to the ground. As if that weren't enough, he charged at her again, continuing his attack by picking her up and throwing her around, as though he was determined to finish her off in that moment. However, after much struggle, Tarika finally managed to stand again. Meanwhile, she hurried to safety, seeking refuge with her neighbors. But although she may have thought the worst was over, it was only just the beginning of a much deeper nightmare that would unfold in the following moments. On the neighbor's porch, Tarika tried to call the authorities because she still felt threatened. Kevin, chasing after her, knocked the phone to the ground and struck her again before she managed to break free, leaving her daughter crying as she shouted for help. Then something fortunate occurred. Tarika found a hiding spot where Kevin couldn't see her and managed to get help with another phone. With Kevin not too close but still nearby, she hurriedly attempted to reach the police by dialing 911, desperately hoping they would answer quickly and come to her aid. This time, the call connected, but just as the dispatcher began trying to determine Tarika's location to send urgent help, Kevin could be heard in the background screaming and yelling. The dispatcher immediately recognized that this was a critical situation requiring urgent intervention without needing any additional details. Eventually, officers were dispatched to the scene. When they arrived, Tarika shared even more shocking information with them. She explained that when Kevin had asked her to grab the baby from the front seat, she was on a phone call that was about to end. This led Kevin to believe she was speaking to the father of her other child, and in a fit of rage, he started to attack Tarika on the ground. However, Tarika added something that prompted the police to take serious action. She revealed that a similar situation had occurred not long ago, during which Kevin had rushed to his truck and retrieved a shotgun, which he used to assault her. Tarika wanted to call the authorities at that moment, but Kevin's mother had stopped her from contacting the police about her son. It was at this critical moment that Kevin was arrested and charged with first-degree assault. While this
And there goes something else. These mothers of daughters, these mothers of sons, get involved knowing their child is destructive, abusive, manipulating, and stuff like this, and then they stop the other person from doing what they have to do. When them being a parent should have warned them people or their significant others about their child. They don't do that. They try to protect their child, which they're not protecting their child. They're causing their child to get into more and more dangerous situations by protecting them instead of getting them help.
should have brought smiles and relief to Tarika, the opposite was true. In fact, it was quite strange and surprisingly the complete opposite of what one would expect. You see, even though Tarika faced danger with Kevin not behind bars, she was a woman bearing a significant load. Caring for 3 demanding daughters was not a simple task, and the responsibility of monthly bills all fell on her shoulders. It was undeniable that Kevin had been beneficial in that area, and this thought echoed in Tarika's mind, leading her to make what would become the most regrettable decision of her life. One morning, she decided to go to the county police where Kevin was detained, telling them that she no longer feared for her life and wanted Kevin to be released. A court date was scheduled to hear his case, and it was during this time that everyone learned Kevin had no bond set for him.
See, this is where women get themselves in trouble. Always trying to make an excuse for the man that's abusing, that's beating them, that's lying to them, that's taking their money. He's doing everything he can to them. Not for love. It's not love. It's hatred for that person. But grabbing a hold to the benefits from that person. This is what women's got to realize. Like I said earlier, if a man raises his hand to you to slap you for the first time, it's time to go. Because I'm going to tell you something. A man is not going to put his hands on somebody he loves. Period.
For him. However, something shocking happened in the courtroom. The defendant requested a $5,000 bond with a 10% option, meaning they would only need to pay $500 to bring Kevin home. Yet the situation had turned more complicated than they had ever anticipated, as various factors began to surface, creating unexpected challenges in the pursuit of Kevin's release. Tarika, feeling a mix of emotions, realized the potential implications of her actions. Kevin had previously committed crimes that even Tarika did not know. Judge Joseph Wright reviewed Kevin's history of violence, reading the details aloud to everyone in the courtroom. Some of the offenses included destruction of property, first-degree assault, and a weapons conviction. As a result, he was not persuaded that a $5,000 bond was appropriate, even though many people were advocating for that amount. His serious concerns about Kevin's potential for further violence weighed heavily on.
Now pay attention, all these things that he was charged with, he was doing to her. The gun, abuse, everything.
His decision-making process. Now, Tarika realized the situation had escalated beyond just her concerns. Kevin was now seen as a threat to society, and releasing him would require a significantly high bond amount to reflect that risk. It was no longer just about her feelings. The safety of others was at stake. What you're about to listen to is Kevin's bond hearing, which I was able to obtain for you.
Reynolds is currently being held in no bond. We're asking that you set a bond, Your Honor, to a $5,000 bond with the 10% option and pretrial release.
I have had occasion to speak to Ms. Jones. She indicates that she is not in fear of him and that she, in fact, wants him home.
The facts read as a fairly violent episode. And then if I look at his record, destruction, conviction for assault, which is what this case is actually charged as, first-degree assault, another conviction for assault, a weapons conviction as well. He believes he got off on probation 2 days ago.
Ms. Jones disputes some of the allegations in the statement of charges, Your Honor. I believe that
I feel some of these courts should deny these bonds, especially when a man has numerous charges of beating up on a woman. Like they say, he's a menace to society. And I'll tell you something, he should get at least 10 years. And as he fights this case, no bond. No bond. Because he's done it before and he's doing it again. So he's going to continue. So courts should take it into consideration no matter what the woman says, keep him locked up.
a $5,000 bond is appropriate in this matter.
I disagree. For all the reasons I've said, for public safety, for the record, for the way the facts read, I'll set a bond. It'll be $20,000.
As you heard from the recording from the county courthouse, the judge set Kevin's bond at $20,000. Since Kevin could not pay because of his financial situation in jail, the bond needed to be funded by an unexpected individual. With only Tarika's support, the $20,000 was raised, and Kevin was ultimately set free from detention. However,
now she's talking about she needed help with the kids, but yet she could raise $20,000 bond for this abusive husband to come home and continue his abuse, which, if she needed help, she could have raised that money for help for her and her kids. See, there's something we got to take into consideration when these women's setting up things to make it look like the man is okay, and otherwise we know, she know, and people see that the man is not. But whoever helped her with this bond, I'm sorry to say, I know you might love her or whatever, but you played a part.
this would be a decision they would soon regret. Now that Kevin was free and back on the streets, Tarika felt immense joy for overcoming the anxiety of not securing his release. She called everyone, including her stepsister Jaleesa, who would later be found dead under the table alongside her. Jaleesa Walls Harris was Tarika's stepsister and also grew up in Maryland. She was a compassionate and supportive person who frequently got caught up in the challenges of Tarika's life, including her difficult relationship with Kevin. Knowing that Tarika was in pursuit of getting Kevin released from jail, she was equally happy when she heard that her sister's boyfriend was freed. However, that happiness was short-lived because of what would happen next. Over the next few days, more incidents of domestic violence occurred in their apartment, leaving Tarika's family and friends increasingly concerned for her safety. They urged her to move, but despite their worries, Tarika remained in the apartment because Kevin paid some of the bills. Since she wasn't planning to leave, her supportive stepsister Jaleesa came over to comfort her, just as she had done in the past during similar situations. Unfortunately, things were about to worsen for Tarika, and this time the effects would be lasting. Just 6 days after his release from jail, on the evening of March 7, 2016, Kevin visited Tarika's apartment in the Cheverly Station complex in Cheverly, Maryland. An argument erupted between them, likely fueled by the ongoing tensions and unresolved problems in their relationship. Kevin drew a gun and shot both Tarika and Jaleesa, causing both women to collapse under the kitchen table. Their children, who were just in the next room, heard the commotion and were immediately gripped by fear.
This was something that happened at 10:30 last night. Neighbors here at the Cheverly apartments, the Cheverly Station apartments, heard arguing and then 2 sets of 3 gunshots. Boom, 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 boom. Neighbors ran upstairs and they discovered that 2 women had been shot and killed. Their names: Tarika Jones, you can see her in her Facebook page, on her Facebook photo, and her sister, Jaleesa Harris. Now, what we have learned is that Tarika Jones was involved in a relationship with Kevin Reynolds, and there was a history of abuse. Reynolds was arrested in the middle of February after he dragged Jones around the parking lot here and then threatened her with a gun. He was locked up, but Jones actually, according to sources, went to his bond review, said she did not want to move ahead with the charges. His bond was lowered. He was released just 6 days ago.
With Jaleesa present and aware of Kevin's violent behavior, it's reasonable to believe that she tried to intervene. While she may not have acted aggressively, her presence during the confrontation had devastating consequences. Police were quickly called to the scene after reports of gunshots. They arrived shortly and began securing the area while gathering information from witnesses about the horrific event. The children were taken to a quiet area where they couldn't escape the sounds of the chaos they had just witnessed. Santiago's 5-year-old was a key witness who knew the name of the shooter, which helped authorities identify Kevin as the prime suspect. A manhunt was launched and police began searching the area, notifying nearby jurisdictions to be vigilant for him. As they tracked leads and followed tips, they discovered information suggesting Kevin was not where they anticipated. This revelation added a new layer of complexity to the manhunt, leading law enforcement on a wild chase as they tried to locate him before he could evade capture. Meanwhile, the residents of Cheverly Station Apartments were profoundly shaken by the incident, particularly because it occurred in a place they considered safe. As the situation unfolded, news reporters also arrived, eager to cover this shocking incident.
Well, the bottom line here, sadly, and it's hard to hear, is the victim in this case wanted to bring her boyfriend home, and 6 days later, that man took her life as well as the life of her sister. It's all happening in this third-floor apartment here. People in this neighborhood still saddened, upset by what happened. Others saying it didn't need to happen.
The reporters sought to understand the background of the case, capturing the reactions of the community in shock and disbelief.
And she was saying, "Reed, what have you done to yourself?" And Reed was underneath the table, the other girls were on the other side of the table, and they both slumped and like in a knot.
The coverage quickly spread, and people were astounded to learn that just days earlier, Tarika had paid $20,000 to secure Kevin's release.
Lydia Polk's 2-year-old grandson, Jameer, murdered by his mother's boyfriend 3 years ago. Polk now speaks out against domestic violence. She says women like Tarika Jones must find the courage to get away from abusive men.
Think about you, and if there's a child involved, you have to think about you and that child. That comes first before any type of other relationship.
Tarika was
Yes, it's not just going out to these women. It's going out to mothers too, because you had kids staying with you, being disrespectful, talking all loud, cursing, and all this kind of stuff. We as parents got to learn how to get away from our dangerous kids. Because I also seen a lot of videos where kids killed their parents. No matter how much you love a child, your daughter, your mother, your sister, your brother, when they get to that point where they're disrespecting you and talking back and getting loud and violent, it's time to cut them loose and move on. Because once they get to a certain age, we don't owe them nothing. We did our part to help them get to that age they are. My condolences to the family of this young lady. And my thing is that if my daughter had an abusive boyfriend, I'm stepping in the picture. Now, if she keep running back to him and he get locked up, I don't care if she need a dime, 10 cents or a penny. I'm not giving her blank. I'm not putting a penny on him to get out of jail. He can stay in there and rot all I care.
remembered as a kind and friendly individual who was still pursuing her studies to become a dental hygienist. Jalesa was described as a lively young woman with dreams of becoming a vocalist.
See the world with brand new eyes. Your love has made me realize my future looks bright to me. All because you are my friend.
Community members were saddened for Tarika's children, who were now left without a mother. Neighbors and friends expressed their condolences and offered support for the young ones, especially since they had witnessed such a traumatic event. To assist with the financial burden, a GoFundMe page was created to help cover the funeral expenses for Jalesa Walls-Harris. The generosity of the community was evident, as many contributed to ensuring Tarika and Jalesa were honored and remembered with dignity. However, while everyone was mourning, news about Kevin's whereabouts began to emerge. Police received tips that he had been spotted in a car 100 miles away. They rushed to the specified location, but unfortunately, Kevin was not there as described. Just as they were about to leave, another person informed them about a suspicious black car that had been parked in the lot for quite some time. Without delay, the police drove to that nearby location, and it was there that they made a horrific discovery. As they approached the vehicle, the trunk was open, and no one was responding to their calls. Officers carefully closed in on the vehicle and found the motionless body of Kevin Reynolds.
Yeah, Leon, and we've got some breaking news for you, confirmed just about a half an hour ago and first reported by ABC7. And that is the suspect in this double murder has been found dead, believed to be the victim of a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Now, this is what you call a coward. If he felt that way, why didn't he just go on and take his own life? He had to go take the life of the mother of his kid's life, and then take his life. Be a real man. Take your own life.
He was found this afternoon in Hanover County, Virginia, not too far, we're told, from Ashland. That is north of Richmond. His name is Kevin Frierson Reynolds, and he had been involved in a relationship with one of the victims of this double murder,
who they recognized from the court hearings just a week prior. Kevin had tragically taken his life in the car using the same shotgun